Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. The 100 sword cultivators were initially passing by with a mission to complete. Tiango's size and cries had attracted their attention. Hence, they came with their swords in hands. The 100 sword cultivators saw the pair of huge wings diving down while they were several miles away. Since people were battling nearby, they hoped to reap benefits from the battle as a third party. Their objective was to claim Tiango as their own. However, when they were about 1 mile away from the spot, they saw Tiango being struck by a huge palm seal. They stopped to observe the battle and saw an old man behind Tiango. The old man's white hair danced as he stood in the wind. His eyes were sharp. He wore Daoist robes. His aura alone was sufficient to strike fearful respect in them. 3 feet of ice was not formed in a single day. An old man with this aura would not be a weakling. However, when they were about to continue flying, an avatar rose from the ground. It was 150 foot tall and 40 foot wide. 9 leaves spun around its golden lotus. The 100 sword cultivators were stunned, riveted to their spots motionlessly. At the same time, they heard the voice of the old man. Take down the other tribesmen. The show of 9 leaves, naturally, intimidated everyone. They would obey him, regardless if he was friend or foe. They immediately dismissed their thoughts of catching Tiango. They looked in the direction Zhou pointed and saw several cultivators fleeing from the area Tiango had fallen. Time waited for no man. The leading elder no longer admired the 9-leaf golden lotus. He averted his gaze and said in a deep voice, "Take down the other tribesmen. Take down the other tribesmen. Who would dare disobey the order of a 9-leaf cultivator?" They put all distracting thoughts on hold for now. The 100 sword cultivators swarmed toward their targets as they gave chase on their swords at top speed. With a 9-leaf cultivator asking for their help, they became excited and wanted to do their very best. They had never felt this way before. The sword cultivators enthusiastically chased after the other tribesmen. They conjured up several energy swords each as they advanced in a sweeping manner. Trees fell and the collisions of energy swords filled the air. They moved like swimming schools of fish. Lanny Bonner felt as though his eyeballs were going to pop out of their sockets as he was being carried. He urged his people, a hint of desperation could be heard in his voice. Run. Faster. The evil Sky Pavilion's master was truly at the 9-leaf stage. It was not a farce. Why did he not launch an attack when he was at the evil Sky Pavilion back then? Was he being toyed with? He suddenly remembered that cats like to play with mice, pawing at the mice before killing them. The mice would not be able to escape even if they were given wings. A deep sense of helplessness and despair rose in his heart, making it difficult for him to breathe. At this moment, his comrades, who were carrying him, suddenly stopped moving. Lanny frowned and asked, "Why are you stopping?" "Fuck you. What do you think?" His comrades cursed at him internally. The person carrying him tensed his arms and tossed Lanny away. He drew an arc in the air before he fell with a thud on the ground. The comrade looked to the left and right. Then, he turned around and looked up at the 9-leaf avatar. 10 seconds was just right. It was not long nor short. He saw the avatar, and his breathing was ragged as he cursed, "Damn you for dragging me into this." Lanny was suffering from heavy internal injuries from 2 strikes of abandoned wisdom. He only survived because Tiango took most of the brunt for him. Fated Bond had practically channeled all of the damage onto Tiango. Even so, he was on the verge of death. He could hardly withstand the fall. He had no way of voicing out his pain at all. I had no fucking way of knowing that he was a real 9-leaf cultivator as well. The coffin left by his ancestors had clearly proved that the pavilion master was not a 9-leaf elite. How did this happen? At this moment, the 100 sword cultivators searched the area on their swords. "Elder. This way." Target spotted. Capture them alive if you can. Understood. Lanny's comrades could not care about anything else at this moment. They gritted their teeth and pointed at Lanny, who was lying on the ground, as they said accusatorily, "You've brought this upon yourself." Then, they turned around to flee. Several sword cultivators landed among the trees. They carried Lanny between them and flew back. The other sword cultivators continued to give chase. 100 sword cultivators pursued them. Wails could be heard every now and then. The scene of one party bullying another with numbers seemed dull but interesting as well. Zhou watched the proceedings in the air. He stroked his beard with one hand and placed the other hand on his back. The 9-leaf stage sure is convenient. The timing was just right. If the 100 sword cultivators did not pass by at this moment, he would have to use 6 deadly strike cards to kill all the other tribesmen. Now, it seemed like he could save his cards. After what seemed like hours, the 100 sword cultivators returned on their swords. 2 of them were carrying a dejected and lethargic Lanny between them. They arranged themselves in a square formation and tidied up their ranks. When the leading elder saw that they were neatly arranged, he lifted his robe slightly as he rose into the air and saluted Zhou. "Greetings, old senior. May I ask if you are the Evil Sky Pavilion's old senior G?" Zhou gazed at him and calmly asked, "You know me?" Zhou's words were as good as directly confirming his identity. The leading elder bowed and cupped his fists together at once and said, "I'm Ma Qing of the Qingyun Sword Sect." "Greetings, old senior G." The others bowed in unison. "Greetings, old senior G. Why did you come here?" Zhou asked. "We were invited by the Penglai sect to a banquet on their island, old senior G," Ma Qing replied honestly. He did not dare to dally. The Penglai sect? Zhou thought about it for a moment. Huang Shiji, the Penglai Island's master, had been at Jing province some time ago. Was Penglai in some sort of trouble right now? Ma Qing replied, "The Penglai floating island is facing some difficulties. The Qingyun Sword Sect has always been on good terms with Penglai Island. It's only natural for us to lend a helping hand." When Zhou heard this, he did not ask for further information. Their affairs had nothing to do with him after all. At this moment, Ma Qing pointed at the half-dead Lanny and said, "Old senior G, the other tribesmen are wiped out. This man is the only survivor. Even then, it seems like he's on his last breath." "Very well." Zhou stroked his beard calmly. He would give praise where it was due. The Qingyun Sword Sect disciples felt delighted to hear this. Ma Qing moved 2 of his fingers slightly. An energy sword hovered before himself as he said, "Anyone who is not of our own tribe is a deviant. There's no need to trouble yourself over such a character, old senior G. I'll put him out of his misery." His energy sword shot out and split into 5 blades, all of which were aimed at Lanny. Ma Qing was about to go in for the kill when Zhou tonelessly said, "Stop." "Your orders, old senior?" Ma Qing recalled his energy swords at once. He did not dare make a move. He immediately bowed and awaited further directions. Rulians are cunning and scheming in nature. "I can't let him die so easily," Zhou replied. "You're right, old senior. I was careless. How could I use such a crude method?" Ma Qing turned around. "Execute him with a sword formation." Zhou frowned slightly. "I've pursued him for a long time and you're trying to steal the kill?" A mosquito was still a piece of flesh. "Stand down." Zhou lowered his tone. "Huh?" At this moment, Zhou readied his palm. When Ma Qing saw this, he waved his hand at once. "Understood. Stand back, everyone." "Yes, yes, yes." The Qingyun Sword Sect disciples flew to the sides with puzzled expressions. Zhou conjured up his extraordinary power. A blue radiance glowed between his fingers, and the scripts for abandoned wisdom appeared again. Ma Qing exclaimed in a hoarse and surprised voice, "Abandoned wisdom?" At this moment, Lanny's eyes suddenly snapped open as he flailed his arms. The two disciples of the Qingyun sword sect were sent flying. Zhou struck with his palm. Ma Qing frowned. Indeed, Rulians are sly. Zhou initially intended to use 1/3 of his extraordinary power. Yet, when he saw that Lanny was capable of holding out until this moment, anger stirred in him. He said coldly, "You won't be able to live if I want you to die." Abandoned Wisdom's palm seal doubled in size. It doubled in speed as well. Lanny Bonner, who had just started sprinting away, felt his heart shudder as he said in fright, "Is this the 9-leaf stage?" Despair and helplessness rose in his heart as the palm seal sailed toward him. Boom. The palm seal landed firmly on Lanny's body. His face, chest, and limbs felt as though they were crushed by blue magma that washed over him. Although the Qingyun sword sect was a Taoist cultivation sect, the Confucian school and Taoist societies had always had a good understanding of each other. The abandoned wisdom Ma Qing knew was completely different from the abandoned wisdom Zhou had cast. He had never seen anyone launch a palm seal with just a single hand. Whether it was from below, above, or launched with a single hand, they made no difference for Zhou. He was only hitting a fly. It would die no matter how he hit it. Only those who were not strong enough would think about smashing the fly against the wall or against the ground. After the palm seal landed, the target was reduced to ashes that scattered in the wind. There was no longer any trace of an other tribesman there. Ding. Killed a target. Reward, 3,000 merit points. Note, the target of fated bond was included. The palm seal did not fade away. Instead, it continued moving forward, flying down. Boom. Dozens of trees fell with a crash. When the clouds of dust settled, a clear palm print could be seen on the ground. The others did not even dare to breathe loudly. Many of them gulped in fear as they looked at the palm print and wondered just how powerful old villain G was. They did not expect the legendary old villain G to be so vicious. As expected, none of the members of the Evil Sky Pavilion were nice people. It was no wonder that practically nobody survived when the 7 great sects laid siege on the Evil Sky Pavilion. They were indeed merciless. However, it had to be said they felt satisfied as well. After all, compared to the Evil Sky Pavilion, the members of the Qingyun sword sect loathed the other tribesmen more. Although old villain G's attack was an overkill, it was still satisfying to watch the other tribesmen being killed. Zhou retracted his palm. He did not earn much from this battle. He basically depleted his extraordinary power to kill Lanny. With the palm strike and the intimidating effect of a 9-leaf cultivator, the sword cultivators of the Qingyun sword sect showed their allegiance to him. For some reason, old villain G was not hostile toward them, but they could not help but feel that the atmosphere was peculiar. This made them nervous, and some of them even began to tremble. After a moment's silence, a gust of wind blew this oppressive atmosphere away. Ma Qing cupped his fists and said, "Your abandoned wisdom has truly widened our horizons, old senior G. You've widened our horizons." The other disciples did not know how they should express what they felt, so they echoed Ma Qing's words. Zhou looked at them calmly as he stroked his beard and said, "I'm not an unreasonable person. You've played a part in eliminating the other tribesmen. I'll grant you that beast, Tiango. A living Tiango could be of some help. A dead one was useless. A vicious beast that roamed the great forests would have tough and dry flesh that was not even palatable. It might even be poisonous. So, it could not even be served as food." Zhou knew they were ignorant, so he said, "Tiango was a vicious beast of the land. The radiance it leaves in its wake is like a meteor in the skies that extends for several hundred feet. It moves like the wind, cries like a clap of thunder, and shines like a bolt of lightning. Its hide can be used as powerful armor, and its bones are earth-grade. Many dream to get their hands on this beast." When Ma Qing heard this, he was clearly overjoyed. His eyes lit up, and he hastily bowed. "Your explanation has enlightened us. Listening to your explanation is better than reading books for 10 years. We were foolish and ignorant. Thank you for bestowing Tiango to us, senior. The others were shocked after listening to Lu Zhou's words as well. They bowed and thanked him. Thank you, old senior G. Ding. Received pious worshipping from 105 men. Reward, 1,050 merit points. The matter was finally settled. At this moment, Lu Zhou remembered the mysterious coffin and the secret tomes of cultivation methods. He no longer lingered at this place. He waved his arm, and Wizard came on the clouds. Lu Zhou leaped onto Wizard and flew away. The members of the Qingyun sword sect bowed. Safe journey, senior. Wizard vanished among the clouds in just a blink of an eye. Ma Qing looked up at this moment with a faraway and admiring gaze. He muttered, "This trip is well worth it. I got to see a nine-leaf expert with my own eyes." The others nodded in agreement. When Lu Zhou returned to the Evil Sky Pavilion, the sun was already setting. Duanmu Sheng hovered outside the barrier and waited quietly for his master's return. When he saw Wizard, he bowed when Lu Zhou was still some ways away. "Master." Lu Zhou leaped off Wizard's back. He moved as though he was light as a feather. He passed through the barrier and asked, "What's the situation?" The two other tribesmen were already dealt with by fourth junior brother and me. "It's little Conk that seems slightly off," Duanmu Sheng replied. "I'll take a look." Lu Zhou flew toward the southern pavilion. When he landed there, he walked toward little Yuan's room. Many female cultivators were already there. "Pavilion Master." "Master." The others made way for Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou's appearance greatly reassured them. Little Yuan walked up to him and said, "Conk says that she remembers some things." Lu Zhou thought that Conk was injured. As he entered the room, he saw Conk supporting her own head with both hands as she leaned back on a chair. She did not look too good. Lu Zhou walked up to Conk and sat down slowly. He said, "Give me your hand." "Oh." Conk was obedient. After examining her pulse, Lu Zhou nodded slowly. Her body was fine. Lu Zhou looked at Conk and gently asked, "What do you remember?" Conk said, Red lotus." Something stirred within Lu Zhou. He was shocked. He did his best to maintain a neutral expression so that he would not scare Miss Conk. He raised a palm. Whiz. A miniature avatar hovered above his palm. Under the avatar, two leaves were spinning around the golden lotus. Ming Shirin, Little Yuan, and Duanmu Sheng glanced at it. They nodded silently. Master's control over his avatar has truly reached great heights. With his skills, he can easily control the number of leaves on his avatar. After all, it was extremely wasteful of primal chi to manifest all of one's leaves. Lu Zhou pointed at the golden lotus and asked, "Little girl, is this what the lotus you mentioned looks like?" Conk blinked. After observing it, she nodded. "MHM." Lu Zhou clenched his fist. His avatar vanished. Although he was as steady as an old dog, he was still shocked. Conk's words meant that someone was cultivating the red lotus. "Do you remember where?" Lu Zhou asked. Conk pouted. She shook her head and said, "I don't know." At this moment, Ming Shirin interjected, "Master, is she saying that someone is cultivating a red lotus? This can't be real, right?" Duanmu Sheng nodded and said, "Nobody has ever cultivated a red lotus." However, they suddenly recalled their master's blue lotus and the barrier's power as well. He said, "Could it be some sort of mutation caused by a secret technique?" Under normal circumstances, the energy condensed from primal chi was golden. Fiend Zen would cause it to turn black, healing made it green, and absorbing the barrier made it blue. However, this was their first time encountering the color red. Lu Zhou did not answer their questions. He remembered the book and the coffin. The young girl might be lying or have dreamt about it. They could not rely on her words alone. They would need concrete evidence to authenticate her words. He remembered the row of words on the final page of the book, "I hope it stays this way forever. I hope that there are no nine-leaf cultivators in this world." I hope that there are no 10-leaf cultivators in this world. What did those sentences mean? Zhou pondered about this for a moment before he looked at Conk again and asked, "What else do you remember?" "I don't remember anything else." Conk shook her head helplessly. "Amnesia?" Zhou guessed. At this moment, Mingxirin bowed and said, "Master, I don't think she has amnesia." A person with amnesia has either lost their memories or sealed the memories. When they try to recall their memories, it will certainly trigger some reaction in their heads. Yet, here she is, sitting here unaffected, said Mingxirin. I suspect that she's more likely in some pre-awakened state. Why do you say that? Zhou thought about this before as well, but he could not be sure. Some are born with innate abilities while some are born to cultivate. For example, the fair folk, such as 6th junior sister, can reconstruct their extraordinary 8 meridians naturally. They can even reconstruct a destroyed sea of qi. Mingxirin stroked his chin as he inferred, she remembers how to play the tunes and remembers the appearance of the lotus. This means that the consciousness is still inside her mind. Zhou nodded and said, "You're saying that if she starts to cultivate and enter the sense-condensing realm, the consciousness can be fortified." You're brilliant, master. If the consciousness is fortified, her fuzzy memories will certainly grow clearer. Mingxirin said. For a cultivator, the body tempering stage and the mystic enlightening realm were related to the physical body. Starting from the sense-condensing realm, they would start to train their consciousness. Mingxirin had a point. At least, this was a lead. They were no longer clueless. However, there was the matter of Conk skipping the body tempering stage and directly entering the mystic enlightening realm. How was she supposed to cultivate when her meridian vessels were fragile?